A bill to fund more than $15 billion in hurricane relief was given final passage by Congress today.
It was immediately signed into law by President Trump, but not without controversy. KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with more on what that's all about. Dave?
Yeah, well, first of all, nothing is immune to controversy these days, right? It's about the fact that these days, even a hurricane relief bill gets caught up in political infighting from Washington because it contained a controversial debt ceiling clause and because a lot of Republicans were put off that the president cut the deal with the hated Democrats and left GOP leaders on the sidelines. Even as the videos show the devastating damage left behind by Hurricane Irma in the Caribbean on its way to Florida.
On this vote, the yeas are 316, the nays are 90. Motion is adopted.
The House of Representatives easily approved a hurricane relief aid package, $15 billion worth, for the victims of Harvey and shortly the soon-to-be victims of Irma.
America stands united, and I mean totally united.
But Republicans in Congress are anything but totally united. 90 Republicans, nearly a third of the GOP members in the House, voted no on the bill Friday because it also opened the way to raising the government debt ceiling, which they oppose.
You've got a number of very principled people who realize we're bankrupting our country by continuing to raise a debt ceiling and not doing anything about spending.
The Republican bitterness and the dissenting votes for the plan that was agreed to by the president of their own party is the hangover from this week's White House surprise, when President Trump shocked the Republicans and cut the debt ceiling hurricane relief package deal with Democrats Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, whom he called Nancy and Chuck. This photo shows Schumer and Trump embracing in the Oval Office. It was a frustrating moment for many Republicans in Congress who rejected pleas from Trump administration officials to vote yes on the bill for the sake of the hurricane victims.
FEMA is running out of its yearly appropriation. If we do not pass this now, FEMA will not be able to enter into obligations regarding Harvey or Irma or again possibly Jose.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin also made his case to convince Republicans to vote for the bill, but got some grumbling instead.
His last words, and I quote, was, "Vote for the debt ceiling for me." And you could hear the murmurs in the room there.
But there are sharp differences among Republicans about the president's deal with the Democrats and the negative reception from some of his GOP colleagues.
Well, I wasn't there for the whole discussion. I'm told there was a lot of frustration. Frankly, I don't think there should be much frustration. I do think the president in this case actually cut a reasonable deal. This is reasonable.
And the president may have poured a little more fuel on the fire himself when he tweeted this response to his Republican critics on Friday. Republicans, sorry, but I've been hearing about repeal and replace for 7 years. Didn't happen. Even worse, the Senate filibuster rule will never allow the Republicans to pass even great legislation. 8 Dems control will rarely get 60 versus 51 votes. It is a repub death wish. At the White House briefing Friday, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about the Republican dispute by CBS News White House correspondent Major Garrett.
So what is the White House message to them? Just get over it? You're sore losers? What?
I think the biggest message is that we're a lot less focused on what makes Congress happy, and that was the decision that the president made, that this was something that was important to get done, and he was willing to work with Democrats to make sure it happened.
Now, what the president was referring to in his tweet is the fact that the Republicans hold 52 seats in the Senate, but in most cases it takes 60 votes to shut down a filibuster by opponents. That gives the Democrats plenty of leverage on the close votes, unless the rules are changed, which Mr. Trump has been urging the Republican leadership to do, but they have politely declined. Lena?